I want to get started by finding out, I know you guys are married, but how you came to be. How did you meet?
Wow, we met quite a while back in church, actually. Julie was singing. We were both 16. I looked 12 and she looked 18.
Which you can say now.
Yeah, it was obvious at the time that I looked much younger, and I thought she was older. So I listened to her sing, and I just couldn't believe this voice that was coming from this human being. So I had to go up to her, and she thought I was trying to pick her up, but I just went to say that you gave me goosebumps, and I just can't believe that you sing like that. It's amazing. And that's how it started.
And with you thinking that he was trying to pick you up, that was obviously a good thing, right?
No, not necessarily. Not really. I really did think he was 12, actually.
Awkward.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really fantastic with boys at that time, so I was pretty shy. But he made me feel sorry for him pretty quickly because my grandpa was the guitar player in the choir, and my grandpa had just bought his dream guitar, this Martin that he had saved up forever for. And so Roland goes up to him and he goes, that's a really nice guitar. And he's like, yeah, thank you. And he's like, I play guitar. Do you think I could try it? And my grandpa was one of those people that was very blunt. And he just went, no. And I was kind of shocked. And I went, Pepette, that's so rude. He got really angry at me. And he's like, I don't know who this guy is. He's not going to touch my guitar. And then after that, I felt really sorry for him. So when he called me to ask if I would go out, I felt like I had to.
You gotta thank Grandpa then, right? So she says yes. You start dating. Clearly things went well. What made you decide to start being a musical act together?
Well, Julie was, she's been singing since she was just a little kid, and I really started around 16, so right around that time, I was starting to play guitar and singing, and I joined Pushing Daisies, I think at around 17, and we lasted as a band probably 15, 20 years. And then me and Julie just decided to do this country thing. And now we're doing it.
Was Pushing Daisies country?
Pushing Daisies was rock. We actually asked those guys to be in a country band together. So we did have an interim period where they were part of this country thing. And then we kind of just morphed into our own sort of solo duo sort of thing.
And it's worked well for you guys so far. You're hitting radio, which is good news.
Yeah.
When that happened, were you guys shocked, or did you sort of see it coming for a while?
You know what? The industry is a really tricky thing. Having been in the business for a lot of years, and it's changed so much too. So a lot of self-doubt and things can creep in over the years, and we weren't sure really what to do. So April 1st of this year, I went to radio and got 100 radio stations playing the first single around the world, and most of the reaction was in the UK. So we were really
And you
happy.
did that yourself?
Yeah, all independent. So everything we do is on our own. We self-produce our music, and we do all the recordings at home, and then we send out for drums, pedal steel, mixing and mastering in Nashville. But everything else is done here. So.
Now, being
Yeah.
incredible. Now, being in the UK, that in itself is huge because country music isn't that big over there yet.
You know what? It's getting really big. Mm-hmm. It's you're right though. I mean, it's still in its infancy, but it has grown leaps and bounds. Like in the last 5 to 8 years, they have this thing. I'm trying to remember what the festival's called, but there's a festival that draws about 30,000 people. And it does about 4 stops, and one of them is in Scotland and in London, England. So it's getting really big. And Australia, too. There's lots of country out there.
It's funny because Keith Urban, being Australian, you'd think that it would have come a long time ago. But I remember years ago, I was in England visiting family, and one of my cousins was like, have you heard this guy? He's incredible. And I was like, how do you guys not, there's no country bar, there's no nothing. But like you said, it's obviously coming up, and for you guys to be in on that, that's great.
Yeah, there's it's an interesting sort of transition because a lot of the radio stations out there are not dedicated country, but there are some that are popping up now. So that sometimes it'll be like a Sunday afternoon show where there's the one dedicated country presenter. They don't call them DJs; they call them presenters. And the cool thing is these presenters are more like research driven, so they do kind of like what you do. They really get into the artists and they research them and they learn more about them. Whereas the DJs, not that they don't do that, but they're really told to play a programmed list here. So it's just a little bit of a different take on how they see music, and I think it's really cool. Like overseas, they're just really open to new artists. They kind of don't care if you're signed to this record company or whatever. They just love the music if it's good, right?
Remember when it was like that here, though?
Yeah.
Like
in the 70s, I think, anyways, live music and recorded music. The DJs were able to do what they wanted.
Yeah.
And
even Much Music.
Yeah.
You know, everything. CMT was around.
Yeah.
Everything was tailored to the artist.
It was definitely really refreshing for us because we have been in the music industry for a long time, and it's really hard. It's really hard to get yourself even on a radio station here, and the kind of response that we got out there was really shocking almost at first. We kind of like rubbed our eyes and kind of looked at things, and then we started getting calls, if we could do Skype interviews, and they were at these crazy hours because they were in Australia or they were in the UK. We got a huge amount of response in the UK, so it was really exciting to kind of have that happen because I think we were at a really low point. There's a point where you get to, you've been doing music for so long that you kind of don't know if you should keep doing it. And we were kind of at that point. And so when that happened, that really kind of refreshed us.
That's usually when it does happen, too. It's like your lowest point. You're like, oh, my goodness, is this ever going to happen? And then all of a sudden, what seems like out of the blue, it's like, oh, there's a sign.
Yeah, we actually had a song that was cut from one of the recording sessions that we did. We cut the song, but we actually cut it off the final, what was going to be an album. Still hasn't come to fruition yet. But the song is called "Overnight Sensation," and really it's just about that 20 years long of just slugging it out, and then you're famous all of a sudden, and then everybody thinks you're an overnight sensation.
Yeah,
but
everyone thinks that you just got lucky, but it's like, no, I've been grinding at this for a while now.
Yeah, there's some luck involved, I think, in the business, but the business, like I said, is changing so much that really it's kind of like the rise of the independent musician right now, where people are do-it-yourselfers, DIY musician, they're calling it, and people are just getting discovered on Spotify, they're getting discovered on SoundCloud, on all the social media stuff. Like everybody's eyeballs are on their phones now, and so you can really zone in on your specific audience that way.
No, it's funny because some people saw that when it first started happening as sort of hindering the business because anybody could put themselves out there, and then some people felt that they worked hard, and now here's this person that got 1 million views. I'm guessing it's helped you guys.
Yeah, it has helped us. I think it's just a boost of confidence really for all artists because a lot of people don't know what to do, to be honest. Like they didn't know what to do before. Now they really don't know what to do because you can get a distribution, you can pay for distribution, which sends it out to all the streaming platforms and to iTunes and to YouTube and that kind of stuff. So that's good. Everybody kind of knows to do that. But then what? Right? And a lot of people are at that point.
I also think that, I know that people don't like change. And unfortunately, though, when you get to this point in music, you're really running a business. And if you don't keep up with what's going on and you're not one step ahead of what everyone is doing, then you aren't really running your business properly. Right. Because if you can't get yourself out there, right? Like now we've got YouTube and we've got all these things. So really like your pool of, how many people got to see what you do is so much larger now, right? And there's so many more options for record labels and people to go looking for, and it's easy access now.
You know, like people don't listen straight through anymore.
No.
You know, it used to be where you do an album or a record, and people would listen to the whole thing front to back, especially if the songs were good.
I'm definitely still one of those people, though. I will go out and buy the vinyl or the CD, and it's just nice to have that in your hand, right?
I think there's a resurgence. I think that people are starting to say that more too, because I was just at Sunshine Records talking to the manager there in St. Vital, and you know, he was saying the same thing. It seems like people they're coming out to buy local musicians' stuff. So they actually have a little section in all their stores now.
It's my favorite thing. It's like when you first walk in, there it is. You see all your local artists, and you're like, this is awesome. It's such an easy way to find the talent.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's fantastic, and it's nice. It's nice to do that kind of thing because there's almost no reason for people to buy music anymore, myself included. You know, and it's like, wait a minute, how am I supporting other artists if I'm not buying anything from them?
Right.
So
Subscribe to Apple Music or whatever, and it's like, okay, I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Well, and I think because we have kids, like we have 5 kids, so they range from like 12 to 21. So, you know, they buy music in a different way.
Right.
Like we used to run out, we would wait in line. Remember when I think the new Watchmen CD came out? We would wait in line at like, I know, it's terrible. I'm so old. No, we would wait at midnight.
Yeah.
You know, they'd open the store and you'd wait in line to get this new album, like, you know, Tragically Hip or whoever it was, you know. And the kids, you know, our kids are like, why would you do that? You know?
It's the excitement, and it's crazy because I'll still do that. Yep. And now you'll go into the store. I mean, there was no Sunrise Records in BC, and I would go into London Drugs and I'd be like, did you get the new whatever album? And they'd be like, oh, I think we got 1 copy in. I'm like, 1 copy? Like that doesn't even compute. How is that possible?
And the thing of the word distribution I was talking about earlier, it's so different now. Like it used to be physical product, which was problematic geographically and financially for most artists, especially indies, because just to get a distribution deal was a difficult thing to begin with because of all of that logistics of all that stuff, you know, and then stocking it, and then who's paying for? Usually the artist pays for the albums up front, and then it on consignment as they get sold, then you get recouped for it, and then, you know, if you're lucky enough to get some sold, then you get to make more, right? But nowadays it's all digital, so the cost is way less that way, but there's no income coming from any of the sales of music. So now it's all about licensing, or merchandising, or live performance, really.
And merchandising is hard because people never know if it's the actual artist putting the price tag on their merchandise or if it's someone else getting all that money. So how do you guys go about doing it?
Well, you know what, we're just setting up with Band Zoogle, so just got that up and running today. So bigcityfilter.com. Thank you. That's the domain name. bigcityfilter.com, and we can sell our merch on there. So I haven't set all that up yet, but we can do digital downloads of individual songs. We could do EP download. You can also sell subscriptions, and we're contemplating maybe doing that, where people who are subscription members would get sort of an acoustic version of all songs we record exclusively, that kind of thing. So it gives people incentive to say, yeah, you know what, I'm going to do this. This is cool.
Yeah, it's smart.
Right, because we have to think outside the box. We have to do other things than what everybody else is doing, because I know a lot of artists are hurting from the lack of music sales. Big artists, you know.
It's true, and they're in that time where they're stuck, and they're like, okay, what's the next step, right?
Exactly right.
Now, with you guys being in UK, in Australia, did you find it helped you in Winnipeg? Or has that clicked in?
Yeah, it's really all about doing something. And when you're active and you have people who are expressing interest, especially at radio, that's a big deal to people, especially people that you know, or people who kind of knew that you were doing something but weren't sure what you were doing, and they're local. So that does help to sell tickets and to get people sort of hyped up and, you know, get things rocking.
Guys, I have one more question that I try to ask each of my guests. It's about your socks. Okay. I believe socks tell a lot about a person, and I would like to know what type of socks you wear.
I wear whatever seems to match,
Okay.
and so do my kids.
All right. Seems to match, meaning
Mostly black socks, because then you just can't not match them
Yeah.
as long as you do the laundry, which I don't always do. But
So I'm going to elaborate. We have 7 people in our home. We're lucky if we get a clean sock that matches.
so you might be wearing one of his, one of
There
your.
are no, like, it's all the same color, and we just, grab from the bunch.
It's a smart way to do it. You're not doing it wrong. Well, thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate your time.
awesome, thanks.
Thanks so much.